It's finally finished, but we're still stuck in supernatural purgatory. This podcast is a rewatch of all 15 seasons and hopefully our way to finally escape this show.
Join us once a week for a fun, informal discussion on each episode and leave comments on any specific upcoming plot points you'd like us to discuss.
So, actually, before we get into this episode, which is Hookman, I just want to, so it's another urban legend, and I wanted to, so one little thing.
Yes.
We were both completely wrong about what we predicted for this week. I thought it was a Scarecrow episode. You thought it was something else.
I can't remember.
Neither of them were correct.
Nope.
And it was whatever. So, through the episode, they were playing this up this is an urban legend that everybody knew.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what the Hookman legend is, especially the way that they were telling the story. So I was like, let me look this up.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with a priest. It's got nothing to do with having light switch on. I was like, what is this? It's literally that Lover's Lane murderer, basically, and it's is either a mental patient that's escaped and has a hook, and the only thing that was actually sort of the same for the urban legend and what they did with it was a very first scene in the entire episode. Everything else they kind of made up.
Yeah. The only thing I know about this urban legend is that famous meme. Have you ever heard this? Where someone's telling a story. I don't know if it's on 4chan or Reddit, but it ends with she gets out to check and the man door hand hook car door. That's the
I've heard about that. Yeah,
that's the only thing I know about this urban legend. I guess I do know the Lover's Lane thing. So, it's spooky. Someone might come get you while you're out in, it's not already scary enough being in a car with a weirdo.
So the legend started to come about in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Because of something that happened in the 1950s or 1940s. In one of those I think it was Iowa or Ohio, in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Where a number of couples were killed by a serial killer. Ooh. And they were in a lover's lane situation, so they were hanging out in their car and making out because they had nowhere else to go, and then they got killed by somebody, but they never knew who, because it was the early 19th century 20th century where solving crimes was pretty difficult. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I was like, they're acting like this is Bloody Mary where everybody knows the story, and I was so confused. I was like, I need to look this up, so I did.
I'm glad you did, because I didn't. I just dismissed it as maybe it's an American thing. I don't know.
So
I mean, as I start every episode, I go on IMDb first and kind of look it up. So this one got 8 out of 10, which was down 0.4 from the last episode. And I immediately thought, oh, I don't think this is going to be a great episode. So it was directed by David Jackson, and the writing credit is to John Shaban, who also wrote Skin. So I was like, oh, maybe it will be okay. And I also read some trivia that apparently this was originally supposed to be after Wendigo, this episode.
Oh.
But they kept going back to try and make it scarier because it wasn't really working right. That's why it ended up being pushed to a later episode.
Interesting.
I also read some trivia. This is apparently one of Eric Kripke's least favourite episodes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So last week, I said foolishly, oh, maybe there's no such thing as filler episodes anymore. And guess what? I was wrong.
Well, now that you said that it was supposed to be after, it was supposed to be episode 3, it makes sense. It does make sense. It definitely feels like, it is a filler episode, really. In terms of character development, there really wasn't too much going on. This was I felt like this episode was really, really balanced. Neither Sam nor Dean really took the lead, and they kind of, I don't know, they worked together, basically.
They did, but I felt this was a Sam episode.
Yeah, it kind of was, but like, not by a lot.
Not by a lot. If you did if you had a bar chart, it would be pretty even, I guess.
Yeah, it'd probably be like 55%. Well, maybe a bit more than that. But it didn't, like, in the last few episodes, it's been very, like, it felt very, like, one way or the other.
Yeah, I know, I agree with you. This was a Monster of the Week episode. This was a filler episode. There wasn't a lot of, like, conversations that were particularly sort of interesting plot points or like move the main storyline along. Which maybe this episode the thing is, there's 22 episodes in this season. They can all be really heavy on the plot points. No,
otherwise they would run out of time.
Exactly.
Or run out of steam.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. So, yeah. I mean, it was an okay Monster of the Week episode, but like you said, I wasn't familiar with the urban legend, so I had nothing to compare it against what I knew about it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So I guess we can sort of get into what really happens in this episode.
Yeah, let's do it. So we start off in a sorority house in eastern Iowa. And there's a girl who we later find out is called Lori, who's going on a date, and her friend's getting her to change her outfit, which I'm with her. To the top she made her wear, suggested to her to wear was nicer.
Yeah.
Again, we've said this before, the fashion's very 2005. Like,
it is.
The skirts in particular, I don't know what it is. It's just like, yeah, I really recognize that as like an early 2000s trend.
I think it's like the mini jean skirts.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that wasn't really seen in England too much. Like not really. Maybe with our group of friends, none of us wore jean skirts. That wasn't.
No, I don't think so. I think I own one now, but it's like, but the way they wear them like low-rise jeans, whereas I think now you would wear a jean skirt like as a high-rise with something tucked into it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, fashion. So she's going on a date, and they park in one of the shadiest places I've ever seen. Like, if a guy took me on a date and said we were going to a party and then pulled into this like secluded lane underneath a railway bridge, I mean, that's suspicious, right?
Yeah, especially like, so we learn her character a little bit more, but like you can already tell she's conservative because it went from like a smart like business looking outfit to this other outfit. So she's clearly conservative and like maybe hasn't hooked up with a guy before.
She gives that's implied, I think,
yeah. And so it's like, why? Yeah, I would definitely be on the side of, I want to get out.
Yeah.
Let me out of this car.
So, I mean, in predictable fashion, he's being creepy.
Yeah.
And just pushing her boundaries. And she's like, she's not too happy with it. But, is it too bad to say, luckily they get interrupted by the hook man?
Maybe.
I mean, we don't know this guy. Maybe he was fun. Maybe he's an okay guy. Let's not. He seems a bit skeezy.
He's a frat boy. Yeah. I'm sorry if you're a frat boy or like frat boys, but they're not generally known. Well, again, this is being portrayed in TV. Yeah. I don't personally know any frat boys. They may well be very nice people, but in TV, generally, they are asses.
It's such a weird thing, like sororities and fraternities, right? That's what they're called.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't exist in this country. Like, I guess we have, like, the closest you would have to it would be like Cambridge and Oxford colleges, but they're mixed as well. So
it's not even like. So I know a couple of sorority girls, and they kind of explained it a little bit to me. Basically, it's Well, they didn't clearly explain it, but so it's a nationwide thing.
Yeah.
So if you sign up to a sorority in California, you'll be recognized by the university sorority in like New York. Like, and you'll be able to like go between places and like it's basically a network of people. And so the first thing she said to me was like, it's not a way to buy friends, because you have to like have I'm not sure if it's like a subscription thing or what. I'm not sure like how you go about, but you pay for membership. Yeah. Basically. And it's a lifelong membership. And you basically you live in a nice house, have your sorority sisters or fraternity brothers, and it helps you get connections, I guess. Like, is that every major university? Not even major, I think every university.
Oh, right. I mean, to be fair, it sounds like a good idea. There's not really an equivalent, I don't think, in the UK. I guess, like, some places, you know, you have university societies and things that can be, like, nationwide. But yeah, nothing like this. I think it's really interesting. I always see it in movies and think we don't really have an equivalent. So, I mean, I was a little bit relieved when the hook man showed up. I like this shot where he's like scratching through the dead end sign. It's so, I don't know, like Friday the 13th, like that kind of era of horror movies. There's something nostalgic about that.
It's though. For me, I don't know if it was what it was like for you, but like because the music was kind of quiet, I turned it up a little bit, and then when that sound came on, I was like, "Jeebus!" It was really, really loud, and I was like, "Ugh!"
It was a horrible noise.
Yes, for sure.
Nails on the chalkboard. Ugh. No.
Yeah.
So the guy called Rich gets out of the car to go see what's going on. And while he's out there, all this stuff is happening. And I was like, oh, she's smart. She locked the car.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she didn't drive away, because it was turning on. Anyway, horror movie stuff. People are never smart.
I guess the thing would be like, would you abandon someone like that? Like, so first of all, don't get out of the car. Just drive away.
Just drive away.
Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, I guess you can try and scare somebody off and, you know, get back to it or whatever. But, like, surely, even if it was just some random person and it wasn't a killer, wouldn't the mood be broken?
Yeah, I think so.
So, wouldn't you just, like, be like, oh, okay, let's go.
Let's go to the party that we were planning to go to.
Yeah.
You know.
And, did you notice the zoom into her face?
I did. I put it down. But I did put dramatic zoom question mark, because I still feel like it wasn't that, you know, it wasn't what I was looking for. It's no zoom on the, like, holy water zoom.
That's true. This is true. They haven't gone back to their very dramatic stuff yet, but it's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
It'll come. So what all this stuff's happening, and then she decides to get out of the car. Don't know why. And then that's where she looks back and sees him hanging above the car. And I think it's this like ring scratching on the roof. I think that's what that noise was. And then she does a horror movie scream.
Yeah, it's very good. So basically this whole scene is basically word for word the urban legend.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that differs is that it's either so the boyfriend is usually either hung upside down, like from a tree or something, so that's the same. Or the murderer has the boyfriend's head like severed and is like whacking it on top of the car.
I think I've heard that one before.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was kind of freaking myself out because I was like, "Oh, it's not nice."
No.
But, so yeah, that was literally, that whole scene is basically the Hookman legend.
The whole urban legend. Yeah. I mean, so there's a deleted scene on the DVD, which is basically this whole scene, just shot differently.
Oh, really?
So, like, she's wearing a different outfit. It's kind of similar, you know, vein of outfit, you know. But, like, they get out of the car together rather than her staying in and locking the door. It's shorter. And then he goes off because he's ringing someone about his car. Because they go out to see, like, so they hear something hit the car. So they go out to have a look. And he's like, oh, man, my car got scratched. And then he, like, walks off talking to someone on the phone about all these crazy things are happening to my car because the tires are deflating and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then she can't find him and sort of wanders off a bit. And then she comes back and finds him hung up above the car. So it's like they must have shot this a few different ways because I don't think they could get it quite right, which is kind of alludes to what Kripke was saying about them not feeling like it was scary enough this episode.
Because it definitely, the way that they did it this way, like, extending it out was probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it definitely built up, like, ooky spooky feelings.
Yeah, ooky spooky. Yeah, it was a bit more suspenseful. So yeah, a good opening. No blood splatter. Still waiting on that. It will happen. Mm-hmm. It will happen.
We only had that one, right?
Yeah, it was just the one, the very first one. Yeah,
it's a shame.
It is. I'm missing a blood splatter.
So we then cut to Sam and Dean in a cafe, or Sam on the phone with somebody. It doesn't really say who.
Yeah. Again, so just to go back, there was a few deleted scenes in this episode, so you can kind of see they maybe had a bit of trouble with it. But they explained a lot more who he's talking to and stuff in the deleted scene. So in the original scene, he's kind of angry as he gets off the phone, and then Dean's like teasing him. And he's like, here's your fancy coffee, whatever, Francis. And I was like, what pop culture reference is that? Because I couldn't figure out what Francis alludes to.
Your half-cap double vanilla latte is getting cold over here, Francis. Bite me.
But,
I don't know.
So in the deleted scene, it's explained. So he's calling the FBI on the phone. And they're asking for his badge number. And he's getting, like, really annoyed. He's like, you need my badge number again? And like his name, and he has a fake ID that he's like reading off of, and the person on the fake ID is Francis Marquis.
Yes, Sergeant Francis Marquis, that's me. Yes, Francis is a boy's name.
So that's why Dean's like teasing her about it, because obviously he must have given him the fake ID. But like, otherwise, how would you know that if you hadn't watched the deleted scene? So
I guess they had to. So in extending their opening, they lost a little bit. I mean, this cafe scene is a little bit of a throwaway anyway, because it's just like
they're just somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just somewhere, and like they figured out that. Well, that makes more sense as to why Sam says like he's checked all the FBI databases.
Yeah,
I just assumed that it was like, I don't know, something else that was like they've been doing it all along kind of thing.
Yeah, and why he seems so like annoyed when he gets off the phone, because like it seems more like they've been asking him to prove that he can get his information and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like,
the only thing that I found kind of interesting about this scene was the fact that you can see Dean has started his own journal.
I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I need to go back and look at that scene. Okay.
So, because this is like, as he has the computer in front of him, like he's looking for a case, and then he turns the screen towards Sam, and you see like a book on the table, and it's like only a few pages have been turned.
Oh my god, so happy. I don't know why. That's really cool.
So wow. He's started his own journal, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I hope I see it again. I hope it comes up again. So there's this whole scene is just to set up the episode, but they're saying, oh, we're looking for John. I've checked, like no one's fitting his description of a body being found. I even ran his plates. Like, and this does feel like this could have come as a third episode. Like Dean's like, well, maybe he doesn't want to be found.
Yeah. So it did feel very weird because they've already established that, like, with the voicemail thing, that he really doesn't want to be found.
Yeah.
Or he may be dead. I don't know. I can't remember where we got onto that. If we really thought, they thought, like, do they think he's dead, or do they think he's missing after that voicemail?
I think they were flip-flopping on it. I think I think after the voicemail, because he'd set up all these contingency plans, I think we decided that, he doesn't want to be found there, and he set up all these contingencies. But I mean, there's not been much mention of John for the last couple of episodes now.
That's true.
So we'll see. Like, this is the only mention of him in this episode, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, it's kind of like, you know, Dean's doing his own research on cases. He says a line, which I wonder how often he uses this on Sam, where he's like, well, Dad would look into it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's definitely been said before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, like, in the later seasons, that obviously that gets dropped.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
But, like, I guess there's no other motivation after they find John. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they pull up in Iowa, so they decided to go. And my first thought was, the jacket is back. It's in this whole episode. Makes me happy. Haven't mentioned it in a little while. No leads on that yet. So, I mean, I'm waiting. The inbox is ready and waiting, guys. I want leads on this jacket, please. That could be my life's work, returning this jacket.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And they're gone to the frat house, right? Because that's where the victim lived, this rich guy.
Yeah.
And for once, their cover is perfectly believable. They're like, yeah, we're college students. Mm-hmm. We're your frat brothers.
Which is where, like, the whole, like, being a network, they wouldn't, like, being an alumni fraternity brother is totally fine to just say that. I'm pretty sure there's, like, more than just saying that you are one, but, you know, whatever.
I'm sure you need, like, an ID card or something. Or
maybe, I don't know.
A special secret society ring, I don't know, handshake.
Yeah. So, I wrote frats are weird because they go to interview Rich's old roommate.
Yeah. And
he's painting himself purple for the game, which is what I was saying with fraternities are weird. Like how does painting yourself a color with, like, what looks like regular paint, which is really not good for you.
Coming out of a paint can, yes.
Like, how is that supposed to build trust with your, like, frat bros?
Well, he's clearly like a mascot. He made me think of, you know, the Green Man from It's Always Sunny. You know, that kind
well,
of...
it does say the Purple Man on his door, which I'm assuming, like, so we learned that Laurie is a freshman, so I'm assuming that the Rich is also a freshman, which would mean this guy is a freshman.
Yeah, he looks young, you know.
So, like, it's that whole scene actually really made me laugh because Sam looks so uncomfortable, but, like, who wouldn't be? Like, you've just been asked to paint someone's back, like...
Well, like, the guy asked Dean to paint him, and then he's like, oh no, Sam's the artist. And then it's just like...
See what he does with his paintbrush.
Get my back. Big game today.
He's the artist. Things he can do with a brush.
He's so amused by it. And just... I did write, Sam actually does it. Like, I didn't expect him to actually paint the guy. Like... I mean, but what do you do? Someone hands you a paintbrush and a paint pot. Like, socially awkward situation. Like, okay, I guess I'm painting you now then.
Yeah. That's true. Like, what do you do? I mean, they're trying to get information. And, like, so I wrote there was no need for finesse. And there really wasn't because, like, it's the college students. They're going to talk. So
exactly.
It's like...
I just said, Dean's teasing Sam.
You missed a spot. Just down there in the back.
Because he's like, hi, yeah, you missed the spot. It's a stupid scene. Like, I appreciate it though, because there's a few. What's funny about this episode is, although, like, Sam and Dean are solving the case and everything, also they provide the, like, comic relief in this episode. There's no other
They
funny
really do.
moments other than them.
That is true. That is very true.
They find out that she's the Reverend's daughter, so they've got because her name wasn't mentioned in the article, so they've been trying to find out who she is. So
they go to the local church service, which I assume it is a like dedicated to Rich's passing. Like there's no kind of obvious thing about it, but like the way the preacher is talking, or the Reverend's talking.
I guess she would talk about the things that have gone on in the week, you know, in the Sunday service, if it is a Sunday service. But he's talking about like, oh, it's so sad, you know, it's so sad, and Laurie's there, and like immediately has some kind of weird like eye connection with Sam. Like your, I guess, boyfriend just died, but you're like side eyeing and smiling at this guy in a church. Like, go
right? On, yeah, it was very, very weird. I didn't though. So like, you know when you catch somebody's eye and you kind of do like a weird, awkward smile thing.
Yeah.
Sam absolutely did that.
He absolutely did that.
Which I thought was only an English thing, because I've never seen it happen in America. So it was kind of funny to see.
Never caught that awkward smile.
Yeah, no. It's gotten me into trouble a couple times though, when I've done it. And not the fun kind of trouble. Like I was someone stopped an elevator door from closing when it was like maybe 3 inches closed, like there was 3 inches left. He just stuck his fingers in and started to like ask me on a date, and I was like, no.
I hate you did it in that voice.
No, I told him I was gay and that I had a girlfriend. And he was like, where is she? I was like, ooh. At work. Yeah, it was bad. Bad.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Either thing. Don't smile at strangers, and don't stop an elevator with your hand when it's basically closed and there's only one woman in there. It was
terrifying, because it's such a common thing to do here. Like, I'm in a situation with someone where we definitely don't want to talk to each other, so I'll just do a little smile and a nod, and then we won't acknowledge each other again. Like,
right. No, apparently that's an invitation.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was just like, oh, they're in a church. I'm looking for the bigger subtext here.
So, okay, there was like for me, it was kind of funny. When the Reverend says, okay, now let's pray. Mm-hmm. Sam has to nudge Dean.
Yes.
And I was like, they don't know that their prayers are actually heard at this point.
Oh,
well, I guess they're not praying to somebody. Like, I feel like it's when they've prayed to certain angels and stuff, and that's how this being heard. But anyway, so I just thought it was interesting that, like, obviously Dean is not super religious.
Yeah.
At this point, and I don't think he ever really was.
No,
after like everything.
They're not the type of family who would go to church on a Sunday, right? Way too busy for that. Which is so. I don't know.
But like, it's kind of weird because they obviously know that demons do exist because of the Phantom Traveler episode. So why would you not think that angels exist? I feel like they do answer this question eventually, but it's just because they never see angels until season 4, but they see demons for since season 1.
So like the implication of that, I think I said this in Phantom Traveler. Like, if you know demons exist, you know hell exists. So by extrapolation, you know heaven exists, and then maybe God. Like, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
It always makes me think. I don't know if you ever watched Constantine, the movie with Keanu Reeves in. I watched it again recently, and there's a line in that always makes me think of Supernatural, where I think there's the angel Gabriel is in that movie as well, and they say there's a difference between like believing and knowing. And I always think about Supernatural when I hear that line, because I don't think they believe in like all this, like this stuff until they knew it existed. Anyway, getting a bit out there.
Maybe.
Especially with angels and things. I don't think they believed in angels till they knew they existed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, getting massively off topic. There's a lot of things I could talk about parallels from Constantine and Supernatural.
Yeah.
So they go to this service and then they're stood outside and Sam's talking to Laurie and they're having sort of a quite a typical Sam conversation, I think, where she's like, oh, I lost someone and it's really sad. He's like, oh, I know how you feel. I've lost someone too. I think Sam has this conversation a lot with people. He's very, I think he comes across as quite empathetic because he's more so than Dean at times. Like, he seems to actually want to understand what people are going through. I put here, the Reverend said something which made me laugh.
It's so nice to find young people who are open to the Lord's message.
Just made me chuckle internally, like, oh my God, don't worry. Yeah, so Dean lets Sam take the lead with Laurie all through this episode. Like, anytime there's a chance for them to be alone, he kind of walks off. So he takes the Reverend off now, so like Sam can talk to her, which I thought was a good wingman thing to do.
Yeah. And then they end up in the library again.
Yes.
They say that again is another urban legend come to life.
Yeah.
So very much like we said, monster of the week. And they establish that it wasn't a man because Laurie didn't actually see this person. It was definitely a spirit.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting that like I was pointing out things not knowing that this was supposed to come earlier because he references Sam being in college a lot again in this episode.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of those like weird flirty moments which haven't been really present in the past few episodes. So he, like I said, I think he says something along the lines of so this is what you did with 4 years of your life, because they have to research and go through all these like records of I'm not sure how they figured out it would be a criminal. I guess because the urban legend is a escaped mental patient.
I guess it's just a
serial
hunch,
killer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, maybe it's the spirit of a murderer because murdering people.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So they go back to, I think it's like 1851 is the record, and like, so they never say what town this is, but they only have 2 boxes full of records. So it's not that many. If you had to look back, say, so it's 2002 and it's or no 2002 2005.
Yeah.
And you go back to 1851. That's a long time. So
like of all the arrests as well. Like,
yeah. So it's, I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting.
It's a small town. Not a lot happens there.
Yeah. So probably not.
They find this reverend in 1862 who murdered women because they worked in the red light district, kind of like Jack the Ripper, I guess. But he had a hook for a hand, and all the murders happened on 9 Mile Road, so pretty much fits the bill.
Yeah.
Like, fairly quickly. Like, Dean says, like, get this, like, a couple of times this episode, which to me seems like a Sam phrase.
It totally is. I think it is Sam's phrase.
I think it is a Sam phrase. So he said it at the beginning when he turned his laptop round, and he says it again here. And I think he might even say it again later. But it was just weird hearing that come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Get this, the murder weapon. Looks like the preacher lost his hand in an accident.
So yeah, they make the link here between the Hook Man and 9 Mile Road. And then we cut to, like, I think Reverend and Laurie having an argument.
Yeah. Yep. Outside of the fraternity house. Sorority house, sorry.
Yeah.
So they're basically having the typical, like, she's a religious daughter, like a religious person, and she's staying in a house of sin.
How dare she?
I thought it was interesting that it said that there was 22 other girls in the house, which I think is kind of, that's a lot of people in one house. It's a big house clearly, but like even still,
that's a lot of people. How
many
bathrooms?
Probably not enough.
Yeah. That's my experience with university. Never enough bathrooms.
Well, so, we kind of see that. I feel like maybe each room has its own bathroom. Maybe, like, if you paid more, you got a nicer room.
Yeah.
Because if you, like, with what happens next, so she goes up to her room and she sees, like, a scratch on the wall, which is like, oh, spooky wooky.
Yeah.
And she opens the door and sees that her roommate, Taylor, is asleep. And, like, she's clearly asleep. So why would you say you awake? Like, just sneak into the room and just don't do it. Don't ask if they're awake, because then you've just woken them up. Like, just either wake them up, or don't. Don't be like, you awake, baby? Can I poke you in the face and you can wake up?
I'd be so annoyed.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're in Japan, don't do that.
Okay. Oh, I was going to. Okay. I won't do that.
Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's so weird to me. I keep talking about going back to like American universities. It's so weird to me that they make students share rooms. When I went to uni, I had my own room the whole 3 years. Like, obviously I shared a kitchen and a bathroom, but like, to share a bed, like sharing a bedroom with your roommate, this is so weird to me. Like, I appreciated my privacy.
So when I did my my master's degree, I was in a bunk bed.
What?
Yeah.
How old were you? In your 20s?
I was 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
And so my roommate was 24.
And they're making you sleep in bunk beds.
Yeah. The crazy thing is with that though, is that there was enough space in the room to have 2 single beds in that place.
Yeah. They just decided.
No, it's probably, it's probably cheaper but like every room had bunk beds.
Yeah.
And there were people that were there that were in their 30s.
I mean,
yeah,
I just could not have coped. Maybe it's a money saving thing that you have 2 people in a room, but like, yeah, it's weird to me.
It was definitely strange. Not gonna lie.
So this whole bit, it kind of cuts back and forth between other scenes, but essentially what happens is she arrives back, her roommate's asleep, she goes into the bathroom, goes to sleep, and then the next morning, like, she wakes up and immediately sees like blood dripping onto the floor.
But so in between her waking up, we cut to Sam and Dean, which, you know how last week I mentioned about the wing mirrors? It's not wing mirrors, it's a spotlight.
Yeah, they never use these. Like, I've
never.
I saw they use these up to season 3 and then never use them again. So like, Dean must have taken them off the car or they got broken. Yeah, weird.
Well, he does have to rebuild the Impala, so maybe he just didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Not ready to talk about that scene.
Okay. Never mind. But so it's kind of interesting that this is the first time they really explain how salt works against spirits.
Yeah.
Especially after, like, in the pilot, Dean just shot him with regular, like, bullets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's kind of, I like this because it's kind of showing how hunters are taking kind of things they know that work and repurposing them in inventive ways, right? Because they know that salt gets rid of spirits, so hey, why not replace your buckshot with rock salt, you know? I really like it. I think it gives you a little, like, view into how hunters are thinking about things. Yeah,
because Sam makes a reference, like, did you and Dad come up with this? And then Dean's like, well, you don't have to go to college to be a genius.
I mean, he's true. He's right.
It's true. It's very true. And then, so they hear rustling. They think it's the monster. and it's a police officer, and I was like, "Ooh, he almost got shot with some salt."
Yes, it's just I don't know why this is so funny to me. Them like immediately, I don't know, just like giving in to this police officer.
Yeah, I mean, there's two of them, so like they could have made a run for it, I guess.
Or like given some excuse, or I don't know. It was just they were just like, oh, we've been caught.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to because they know they have to stay in town.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's easier just to give up and just be like, hey, like we hear how like they get out of it.
Yeah.
So.
It's just Dean, like, as he's getting on the ground, like, he's the one with the gun.
That's funny. So we cut back to the dorm, and it's Laurie, and like it zooms into like the shadow, and I was like, "Oh, are we gonna see something?" It's like, no,
yeah,
it's just a shadowy. Like that's probably the easiest shot in the entire series. Like, yeah, whole entire series is just like this shadowed door, not even shadowed corner.
Yeah.
We go back to, so this is where I noticed that during the daylight, instead of being that like washed out kind of desaturated look, it's very, very vibrant in this one. Like the blood, the red of the blood really stood out to me, and like the way that the sunlight comes into the room.
Yeah,
I was like, this feels, it looks yellow instead of like a grayish yellow. So I was like, oh, okay, so they decided to like do a little bit of style change, which was kind of interesting.
They parted the clouds. It's not overcast anymore.
yeah, basically. And I have to say though, like with the roommate being dead, I was really annoyed at this.
Yeah, because
they played into the trope of the token black person.
Like why?
So
no excuses really, is there?
So I was just like, come on. Like, break this trope already. And I mean they end up playing into other tropes as we well know.
Yeah.
But so
I think this one is one of the worst, and I think it happens a few times on this show as well.
Yeah.
I
mean Rufus.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Disappointing.
Rufus. It is. Yeah, because as soon as I saw her in the first like part of the episode, I was like, she's not going to survive.
Oh, she's gonna die.
Oh, lo and behold, she did not survive.
What a surprise.
Yeah. We just see the roommate dead. Does Laurie do another, like, yeah, she does another
horror movie scream thing.
Horror movie screen. And we see some text on the wall. With, I think it says, what did it say?
It says, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? And it has like symbol scratched underneath it, and it's kind of scratched and in blood. Although it says that, like, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? I'm sure when she actually came into the room, like at nighttime, I'm pretty sure her roommate was still alive then.
Yeah, she was. Because you see her, when she comes out of her bathroom, see the roommate, like, turn a little bit, like in bed.
Yeah, so that makes it I don't know if that makes it creepier or not, I don't know. Anyway, horrible. Yeah. So we follow Sam and Dean back to the sheriff's office, and like they're coming out, and Dean's really happy with himself.
Yeah.
Because he managed to talk the sheriff down to a fine. And they did it by basically telling the truth, which I thought was quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he said, oh, well, we're frat brothers and I was hazing you. And yes, the gun was filled with salt because we were out there shooting spirits. Ha 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 ha. Which I thought was quite funny, like using the truth to get out of things.
Told me you were a dumbass pledge and that we were hazing you. What about the shotgun? I said that you were hunting ghosts and that spirits are repelled by rock salt. You know, typical Hell Week prank. And he believed you? Well, you look like a dumbass pledge.
They do it very occasionally, not very often, but that's fair.
So I wrote here that how will they get exposed? I mean, they never do in this episode.
Yeah.
Because like claiming that you're a student, it's really not that bad. I thought it was going to be bad if they stayed at the fraternity house.
Yeah.
But they never do. Like every time they're out at night, so they never actually stay in the home. So it's really not that.
When did they sleep during these few days?
They probably slept when they were in jail.
That's true. Yeah.
It's the morning, so they probably were just told to sleep it off in the cell.
Yeah, that's completely true. I didn't think of that. And then they see like all the police like run out and go somewhere, which like obviously we as a viewer know they must be going to the sorority house because there's been a murder.
Yeah.
But I said they follow and then do a weird drive-by.
Yeah, totally weird. Like, we're not suspicious at all. Like, Humpty hum.
Sam kind of nods to, I think, does Laurie see him? I think she does. He kind of nods to her.
Yeah, I think so.
She looks like she's like happy with that. That would creep me out. The guy I met yesterday turns up at the crime scene of my roommate and then nods to me knowingly out of the window. Like, do you know something about this then? Did you do this?
That's true. It's very true.
Why is she not more suspicious of them? I don't know.
I mean, she's an 18-year-old girl in love.
Oh, so it's the floppy hair. They pull up round the corner and then sneak into the sorority house, which I guess I thought this was amusing.
So the way that Sam gets up onto the roof, he like flops on it. I was like, dead fish much. And they were super lucky to get the right room. Like, they break into a closet and it's, oh, ta-da, it's the right room.
It's the closet that's attached to the crime scene. Congrats. Like, the way they slide through that window as well, just it looks so awkward.
Yeah.
Like, the feet just disappearing through that window. Like, oh my god.
I mean, I guess that's the disadvantage of being so tall.
Yeah.
Is that you can't really, like, do the kind of bend into the window. You really do have to, like, dive in.
Oh man. So I did put it was pretty stupid. They see the crime scene and narrowly miss getting detected by the policeman on watch there. And they say that the thing being scratched into the wall is straight out of the Hookman legend, which I'm sure you're about to tell me is not true.
Well, so that's the thing that got me. I was like, the way that they're talking about this legend is if everybody knows about it. Like, with Bloody Mary, they explained how the legend worked, but they never explained how the legend works in this episode.
No.
So that's why I was like, what the hell is this legend? Because I was like, what? And they also mentioned something about a smell. I was like, they haven't said anything about ghosts having a smell. They only talk about, like, now demons.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is that all
They
about?
said it smelled of ozone. I thought that was like an angel thing as well, the ozone thing. Maybe I'm getting my media confused, but yeah, they said it smells like ozone. Like, I don't know if you ever smelt ozone. It's very, like, subtle, kind of. I can't describe it really. Like, if you imagine how a cloud would smell, that's what ozone smells like.
But, like, how would that relate to a ghost?
I guess, like, the idea is that, like, if you're smelling ozone, like, something's been displaced. I don't know. I'm pulling, like, this out of nowhere. Like, I guess they needed something because they didn't, like you said in the last episode, they don't have an EMF meter, so there had to be something to take that place. So I guess this is it.
Yeah, I guess so.
To prove that it was something supernatural. And so they relate the symbol that's been carved into the wall with the one on the hook, picture of the hook they found in those rest records. So, pretty good. Yeah, so, they sort of go back, they go back to the car and they're talking about it and they're saying, oh, well, if it's a ghost then, we can just salt and burn it. But unfortunately this guy's in an unmarked grave. And which is typical. They barely ever find anyone who's like just in a, where they're supposed to be. Or like easy to find.
Yeah.
And I put here, Dean gets a parking ticket. Do you see him, he like, as he was walking around the Impala, he like pulls a parking ticket off his windscreen, but doesn't address it. Or...
No, I mean, they probably have like a whole bunch, let's be real. But, like, how did he get a parking ticket? There wasn't anything on the road. Is it being too close to a crime scene? I don't know. Like, there wasn't a fire hydrant. There was, like, I don't know. It was weird.
I don't know.
It was just
it's a weird thing,
bizarre...
and I thought maybe this will come up later, but it just didn't.
It doesn't.
Okay. Oh, and they also think that Laurie's involved, obviously, because she's been at the site of 2 murderers now, so, you know, pretty sus. And then they go to a party.
Yeah, like, that was, I mean, I get, no, I don't get it. No,
they could have been at the library, like, there's no need for them to be at a frat party. Because the things they're talking about, and like Sam has all these like historical documents with him. Like, why are they at this party? Do you think I don't know. Maybe Dean wanted to go. That's the only explanation I can see of this. It's like maybe they were staying in the frat house then, and there just happened to be a party going on.
Could very well be in the case. It was very weird. Like you said, the things that they were talking about, like, one, you can't hear anything because the music's too loud for sure. And like, would you really want anybody overhearing your conversation? Like, it's not.
I mean, I've heard people talk about weirder things. They think that Laurie's dad has been possessed in some way. They mention the word poltergeist, but I don't necessarily think that's it. But they think that this priest from 1860 or whatever has like possessed him in some way to murder people. And so they decide to split up. So they went to this party and then just to leave again, I guess, like 10 minutes later, like, whatever. So Sam goes to see Laurie, and I put Dean reluctantly goes to find the unmarked grave. And he does a face here that's really like a Dean face. And I put it's Dean's oh man face.
Yeah.
Because there's a girl like eyeing him up at the party, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check on the grave, I guess."
Yeah. So, we then go to Dean, going through the graveyard. I was gonna call it gravesite. Graveyard.
Yeah.
And like so my apartment creaks every so often. Like, it's not a very well built place, and like my neighbors, I can hear them walking around, and like the wind blows in a certain way. So like Dean's walking along, he hears this weird noise, and then my apartment creaks. And I was like, hell no.
Oh no.
Oh, it was no, thank you.
Oh,
I'm not playing this game. I'm not playing this game. And then so he finds a gravestone with the marking.
Yeah.
Which I was like, wait a minute. It's an unmarked grave. And I was like, let me look up. Like, this episode got me researching.
I'm glad.
Because I was like, wait a minute. If it's an unmarked grave, shouldn't it be an unmarked grave?
No headstone.
And I was like,
yeah.
Right. So I looked up, and yeah, it's for people who don't have a headstone.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not an unmarked grave.
I thought that as well, because like one of the things about like I live, there's a lot of small villages, right? So we have like really old churches and like really old like gravestones and stuff, and there are loads that are just unmarked. Like, you know, but you can kind of find them because you can see the earth looks different. So I thought, oh, that's how he's going to find it. He's going to do like some fancy detective work and find where the soil looks slightly different. Nah, it's just a marked grave.
It's a marked grave. It's doesn't have the person's name, but it has the symbol.
Yeah.
So it's just like, ugh.
Maybe it's because he was a priest. So they were kind of like putting, because it's a cross kind of. So they've been marking that. Well, he was a priest for a bit, I guess, even though he murdered all these people. I'm sure we could find an explanation, but really it's just convenience.
Yeah. And along that thinking, you're probably right, especially if it was in the 1860s. Like, religion had such a prevalent role in everything, and because he was murdering like what they would consider unclean people. Like, yes, he's a murderer, but he was killing bad people, quote unquote bad people.
So it could be like, oh yes, denoting that he was a priest, or even like marking his grave because he was a bad person with like the symbol to protect themselves as well. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, he conveniently finds it has the exact same symbol on again, so
yeah.
Nice one.
And then we cut to Sam, and he's just pretty much peeping Tom.
Yeah, just watching Laurie through a window.
And her dad arguing about something. We can't hear the argument, but there's clearly an argument going on. And then we see Dean, and he's digging, and he says,
That's it. Next time, I get to watch the cute girl's house.
and then I wrote in brackets, grey shirt. He's back in his grey shirt.
I saw the grey shirt too, and I was like, everyone's gonna like this one. Cool.
I did.
What is so attractive about digging? Like,
okay, I didn't get that. Maybe I think you're gonna be one of those like.
Just say it.
Do you remember the Diet Coke commercials back in the day?
Oh yeah,
with like
those
the Office,
thirsty women. Yeah,
yeah, totally
That's me.
Gonna be one of those.
No. I'm that woman. I'm gonna be in my middle age at like working in an office. Oh no. Okay, what's that? Yeah. I've got to change my ways.
I mean, it may not be the digging, it may be who's digging, rather.
I think that's fair.
And I know you have a thing for dirty boys, like grimy.
I knew this episode was going to go off today. Like, I was in such a weird mood when we started. Yes.
Yeah. We've privately had this conversation before, because, like, who doesn't? We just have to look at Henry Cavill, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because actually, just going into that, because Henry Cavill in a suit on the red carpet, he's an attractive man, but he's not, he is. Dressed as Geralt, mud all over his face. It just does something. Don't get me started on The Witcher.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole other show.
Yeah.
So, we cut back to Laurie. She comes out and sees Sam because, I don't know, she saw him through the window sitting and staring at her house like a weirdo.
Yeah.
And I just put there's some heavy flirting going on, which is backed up, I guess. So, they're having quite an interesting conversation. Laurie says, like, I'm cursed or something because people around me keep dying. And Sam says, like, oh, I know what you mean. They're like, you do know what she means, but you could know it more.
Right. Well, so this conversation was like, I can see where people might like Sam. Like, this has, like, he could have been really, I don't know, the way he has been about Jessica dying, but this one, like, he was more, like, less angry about it and more, like, coming to grips with it, I guess.
I think so.
I don't know.
Like, sometimes I feel we're a bit down on Sam, but I do like him as a character. Like, he provides, like, a sort of, I don't know,
emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence that most of the other characters don't have. Let's be real. So he's often the one I look to in the show to know how I'm supposed to feel about something sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is true here. Like, this is where it's weird for me, because I was saying this episode kind of feels like it should be earlier, but this conversation feels like this is a later, this is right in the right place for this. Because we had that whole bit where he kind of saw Jessica's ghost or memory or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it is him kind of coming to terms with it. But I can understand how he would feel. He definitely still thinks that, he caused Jessica to die. And I mean, he's also kind of right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Yeah. Maybe or not. I don't know.
Like, if he hadn't known her, like, if he, she probably wouldn't have died.
Well, yes, but somebody else would have probably died in their stead. That's
true, actually.
Just because of, like, could we get an explanation from the person demon?
Yeah.
I give it away, but whatever. the because it was something along the lines of like, you know, I needed it to like hurry up, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it would have been whoever he was kind of with at the time, but
whoever was in the way, basically.
Yeah.
So
I do feel bad for Sam. Like,
yeah,
it was sad.
So we cut back to Dean. So it flips back and forth between these two, between Sam and Dean. So we're back at Dean, and so this is the first time we're actually seeing like them salt and burn bones. Like,
yes.
Up until this point, they've had to deal with ghosts in like other ways because the body is already gone, so there's nothing to burn. So we actually see it. Though the way that they shot this, it was like as if he was peeing on the bones.
With the lighter fluid.
Yeah.
I didn't see it though. I didn't quite get that, but it's fine.
But like it was just weird. I don't know.
What I thought was weird about that was the fact that he's still standing in the grave while he's putting the salt and the lighter fluid on. Why would you not be stood outside?
Yeah,
because you're about to set it on fire.
And in later episodes where they do this, they are actually like on the side of the grave. So I guess I don't know.
Because I imagine, right? So you set it on fire, and then like he kind of stands there for a second, but you would need to be scrabbling out of that hole pretty quickly.
Yes, you definitely would
before you burn yourself.
So the one like the good shot. So there was the awkward shot of the lighter fluid, but when he actually strikes the matchbook, that was really cool.
That's
like
a nice
the way
shot.
it like lit up his face. I was like, oh, nice.
They don't often use matches. Later, it's lighters, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I was like, I made a point like, they use matches this time.
So then we cut back to Sam, and they're talking about being like a social outcast and stuff like that, and obviously they relate to each other.
Yeah.
In that aspect, because we can already see like Sam's not comfortable in the fraternity environment, and I don't think Laurie is either.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's kind of interesting, and then we get to the whole conversation with the Reverend's actually immoral as well, because he's started an affair with a married woman, which is not good.
So she's basically saying that her dad's being a hypocrite, really, because he's going on and on to her about, living in a house of sin and partying and stuff, where he's actually not following his own advice. So, and then she hugs Sam, which I thought was quite sweet. I don't know how they led into that hug, because they were talking about my dad's dating a married woman, let's hug.
It was very awkward, and then like they kiss, and it's just like I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't.
Well, Sam thought that too, because he was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess Laurie is somewhat under the thrall of this ghost. I know she is not like aware of it, but I feel like that it's influencing her in some way. That's the idea I got. I don't know if that's necessarily true. And Sam's obviously conflicted because of Jess. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
So, and then the Reverend comes out and is telling Jessica to Jessica, telling Laurie to come out, to come back in, and then Hookman
gets
him right in the neck. That was like, ooh. We both made the same noise. It was, and then they have a whole like fight thing. Sam shoots his buck salt.
Yeah, he does. Sam shoots him, and I just put basically Sam rushes in, shoots Hookman, and then Laurie's dad is okay.
Kind of, but not really. Like he's pretty injured.
Yeah,
not dead, but injured.
I mean, you say you got him right in the neck. That's like, oh, it's like a fishing hook as well. It's like barbed on the end. It's like nasty.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
It's not good. So we then go to the hospital, and Sam's actually super respectful, like saying yes sir, no sir.
Yeah,
but it's kind of weird, like maybe because they're trying to play off the college student thing. They
yeah, I think it's that, and I also think it's because most of the time Dean's dealing with the authorities, and he's just not respectful. Which
maybe.
Like Sam doesn't normally talk to him, I don't think, but he's being clever here, I think, isn't he? Because he knows that he was just found in a house with like a guy who's clearly been like attacked in some way, and the attackers disappeared.
The thing is, though, like, he wasn't there. He was in their custody for Taylor's death.
That's true, yeah.
So, like,
they're still suspicious of him, though, aren't they? I think, yeah. Which is, I guess he's just a new person in town. Like, we established it's a small town, so, like, the new person,
they stick out.
Them. Yeah,
yeah. And then they have another very important conversation, quite loudly, in the hospital, like, surrounded by the sheriff's department, which is kind of weird. But they established that they think that the spirit's actually attached to Laurie and not the Reverend.
Yeah.
And, like, that it still attacked them, even though the body has been burned.
Yes, exactly. So, like, I really like that shot of when Dean's trying to get to Sam through the police. He was like, "Hi, hi, brother."
It's me. Yeah.
And it's really smart. He calls him brother as well, because I don't know, because obviously they're supposed to be frat like boys, yeah. So it kind of works both ways. But yeah, like, so they've burned the body. This is where I was kind of wondering how close Sam was getting to Laurie. Like, was he actually interested in her, or was he just being kind of nice to her to get this information? Because he's like kind of suspicious of her after that whole conversation. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But they go to do more library research because they realise that Dean didn't burn the hook. The hook wasn't in the coffin.
So this is where, for me, where it really pointed out that it was balanced, because Dean found out that the personal effects were returned to the church.
Yes. And
then Sam found out that the silver from the hook had been melted down. So it was very, very not coordinated, but well, maybe coordinated.
Yeah.
So that they, you know,
they both found information that was important.
Yeah. Rather than like Sam listing off everything or Dean listing off everything.
Yeah, it did feel like that. Like, this episode's so weird to me because, like, in the earlier episodes we're saying, well, their characters don't really feel like fully divided from each other yet. You know, they're the same person essentially, and there's flashes of that here, and then there's not. It's weird. I don't know.
Well, so like you said, with it being slated as an early episode, but then being pushed back, I'm sure they had to, with all the reshoots, they had more of a understanding of their characters, so they were bringing what they've known into this
exactly,
but with a couple of slip ups basically.
I guess smooth the writing as well. I mean, you know, it's fine, it works okay. So they decide that they're going to break into these two places. So Sam's going to break into Laurie's house and Dean's going to break into the church, and they're going to basically melt everything they find that's silver, which seems like a plan.
Again, I was like, wait a minute. Like I told you, this episode made me research. And I was like, can silver burn in a wood fire? Because I was like, this... I know, again, I was overthinking it, but I was like, there's nothing else really going on in this episode, so let me just see if I can get my facts straight. And it has to be in like the hottest part of the flame, and it can melt.
It can kind of melt, it definitely can, if the fire's hot enough. And I mean, we see Dean like burning the stuff in the church furnace, I guess. So I would imagine that would get hot enough.
I don't know, because it's just regular wood in there, so I don't know.
You'd have to put it right in the middle, you know. I don't know. It's a bit of a... Like, maybe if they could have just done this by like, oh, well, we need to salt it, then heat it up, I guess. Maybe they could have like gone with that a bit more, like, oh, you're purifying it in some way. But
maybe.
Yeah, they're doing it though. They're melting the silver. It does melt.
Yep, it does melt. And they hear a noise upstairs, and they're like, "Oh, who could it be?"
Yeah.
And they go up and they see Laurie in the pews, and she's like obviously in distress.
Yeah. Did you see the sign as they came out of the door? That looked like a Sunday school sign, you know, for little kids. It's all like blue and flowers. And then the words it says in it was "reaping with joy."
I did not see that.
Which, I guess it's just related to the episode, I suppose. It was just weird and creepy, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah. So
that was very, very strange. And so Sam approaches again. Like you said, Dean has let Sam take over with Laurie. Yeah. So Sam goes to Laurie, and he's really good at consoling in this episode.
He is, like, very empathetic.
So she's explaining how, like, she's the reason why all these people are dying. Yeah. She's the one who's, like, actually needs to be punished for all of the stuff that's been going on. Lo and behold, Hookman.
Yeah. I put here, like, she's... Because I look for every little bit, you know, every little bit. But she's talking here about avenging angels.
Don't you see? I'm to blame for all this. I've read in the Bible about avenging angels.
Trust me, this guy, he's no angel.
I was so angry at my father. Part of me wanted him punished. And then he came and he punished him.
It's not your fault.
Like, that's what she thinks it might be. Which I thought it's probably nothing.
Maybe. I mean, this kind of comes back to what we were talking about. Like, they believe in demons, but they don't believe in angels yet. So it's just like, and is it knowing versus believing?
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. It's kind of I'm just looking for anything. There wasn't a lot in this episode, so you need to look for something.
Yeah, you went with, like, meta, and I went with, like, fact.
You're saying that meta is a fact? No,
different kind of fact.
So, like, creepy stuff happens, like the wind's howling, the candles go out, and Sam's like, we gotta go. But then, like, Hookman's there. They do the classic shot of the hook coming through the door. It's very like The Shining, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And the slow-mo shot of Sam getting hit was really, like, was so bad.
No, but, okay. All right, here.
Lay it on me.
So, Sam gets hit by Hookman because he's protecting Laurie. He gets hit in the arm with the hook. And he goes, ah. And then Laurie gets, like, pushed/pulled down the corridor. Now, was it Hookman or was it Sam that telekinetically pushed her down that hallway?
You know, I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And you're right. You know, I think you're right. I think it was Sam.
Because I think he got hurt, right? And I think that's when they made a big deal out of him getting hurt. Because then it linked it to her getting pushed down that hallway to safety. Yeah. Yeah, I see you, Supernatural.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. I wonder how much that's going to play into the next few episodes.
Yeah, I'm interested to know now, because that's going to come up at some point, right? So
yeah, I can't remember when that comes up, but
no idea.
Because we already know that. Yeah, it's probably a season 2. Because this gets dragged out for us some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they continue their fight, and I'm not sure how they end up. Oh, so Dean comes running out of the
basement
somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he was for all of this, but he comes running, and because Hookman's about to slash at Sam, who's protecting Laurie, and they're like, "Wait, haven't you burned all the silver?" They're having this very rapid conversation, yelling match, whatever, and we see that Laurie's necklace has come loose.
Oh yeah, it's all like hanging out, so you can see that it's clearly silver.
Sure. Yeah. And they start yelling at her, like, "Where did you get that? Who gave it to you? Is it silver?" And the way that Sam grabs it, I was like, that's kind of close for a boob grab.
It was an emergency.
I mean, yes, it was. It felt almost like a punch to the chest.
Yeah.
And So he throws it to Dean, and Dean throws the gun to Sam, which I thought was really cool. Like, I like that.
Oh, did you? I said that looked awkward.
I mean, it was definitely awkward, but it was, I don't know.
I just wonder how many takes it took for them to do that swap effectively.
Too many, I'm sure. Too many. So I was like, okay, it's cheesy fun.
Yeah, that was good.
And Dean runs down to the furnace, and the hook man's there again.
Reappears.
Yeah, Sam gets up another shot, and we see the cross type thing. It was a weird cross.
It has like a hook at the top.
Yeah.
They should have known sooner.
Well, the necklace is hidden throughout the whole episode.
Oh.
You don't see it until that point.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
You just see the chain of it, but you never see what the pendant was. And you see the silver melting, and then I thought it was really cool how they made the hook melt first.
Yes, I thought so too. And
then the rest of the body.
And burns. It was really familiar. This is how ghosts burn out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not completely exactly the same as, because the CGI is not quite there yet, but it looked the same as when we burn ghosts later on. Mm-hmm. I wonder how many times they've burnt a ghost at like the last possible second.
It's every time. It's every time.
Every time. It's like the countdown gets to 1 second and then it stops. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woohoo! They did it. They saved the day.
They absolutely did. And then the sheriff and everybody comes, because obviously, like, they're injured, and so Sam's wound's getting looked at.
Yeah. And Dean's telling the policeman the truth.
Yeah.
Kind of. He's like, there was a man with a hook. I don't know what happened to him. It was weird.
And then he'd ran away, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, we'll get out of town.
Yeah, we're leaving. We're going. Well, goodbye.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it's a bit sucky that they never get the credit from, like, I guess, the people who should be finding out about this stuff. But
this is true.
Dean knows he's not going to get any credit for that. So
yeah, that's true. He gets in the car and he looks in the rearview mirror, and I was like, what is this look?
Yeah, no, I put exactly the same thing down. I was like, what is Dean's face doing? That's why I wrote it down. Like, it's kind of wistful. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to be showing.
Like, is it because obviously he knows that Sam is caught up on Jessica, so is it like is he finally getting over her, like, kind of look? Or is it, what is that look?
Maybe because he's kind of, like, bummed out that Sam seems to have this connection with this girl, but they have to leave town. I don't know.
It was a weird one. And, like, because then when Sam gets in the car, he asks if he wants to stay. And he's like, no.
We could stay?
And I was just like, and then he does his look again. Like, it's almost like sympathy, but, like, not. I don't know. It was a weird one. It was a weird
end to the episode.
Yeah. What did Misha say in that? His acting choices. Like, why did he make this face here? That was very much like what was running through my mind when this came up. So,
Yeah. Like, it was just a weird end to the episode, and it felt very, like, flat. Like, oh, okay. Because I don't think that Sam had that, okay, yeah, he kissed that girl, but, well, I think she kissed him, but it wasn't that, I don't feel like he had that much emotional attachment to her.
No, I didn't see it that way either. It was more like, it was more like we kind of connect, and we both feel sorry for each other. Mm-hmm. Let's make a bad decision type thing.
Yeah, and then, like, he saved her life, so that's kind of...
Yeah. Because, I mean, Dean's gotten smooches from the women that they've saved before, so it's like, it's not...
But I guess he's a different... Unusual. Yeah, but he's a different character, he's more happy-go-lucky, like, breezing through town, whereas Sam's more emotional, and this is very, like, reductive. And, so these attachments to people... I don't know. It was a weird end to the episode to me. The whole episode felt a little bit like I kept wanting them to say something. Like, the thing is, for it to come straight after Skin, where they were all talking about, the fact that Dean was jealous that Sam went off to college, and Like, you know, he left in there with Dad, and there was so much there to be addressed. And then this episode, they actually go to a college.
Yeah.
And, like, none of that's mentioned. Like, Dean makes a few digs at Sam, but he has done through this whole series so far. And it's all quite well-humoured. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It felt weird to me.
It did. It definitely felt out of place. So it's like networks do this all the time. They mess around with orders of, like, episodes. So, like, I don't know. And it's not unusual for the series. There's so many instances where, like, episode didn't feel right for where it was in the season. So I'm kind of chalking it up to that. Like,
I think so, yeah.
It was just a...
Like, there have been episodes where, like, people die, the previous episode, and then, like, the next episode is just, I don't know, Monster of the Week. No one's going to talk about this.
It's not addressed until, like, the episode after the next or whatever.
Yeah.
So, because I think in the next one we're watching is Bugs, right?
The worst rated episode.
It is.
It is. For a long time. I don't think it is anymore. I think a certain other episode may have knocked it off this spot. But yeah, for the longest time, Bugs was the worst rated episode of Supernatural. I have some good facts about this one. I'm looking forward to next week.
Me too. Because I feel like for the rest of the season, I don't remember any of these episodes.
I don't remember anything. I want to have a look at some of the episodes coming up. So, I mean, obviously Bugs. I don't actually remember, despite its notoriety, I don't remember anything that happens in Bugs, other than there's bugs in it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I remember, there's an episode upcoming called Home. I feel like I may remember that one. And Asylum. But then other than that, yeah. Oh, it's so exciting to find out together. I think I'm kind of disappointed that what I said last week wasn't true. I think there are still filler episodes in Supernatural. Not everything's going to be relating to the main plot points. Yeah.
So actually, I'm also looking through these, and some of these, I was like, I swear this was in season 2, but actually, they're not. So it's kind of interesting.
Exciting stuff. So I'm looking forward to Bugs next week. We got to do it. It's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, this episode might not be as long, or we might find a way to make it, you know, we might talk about it for too long. Who knows?
Like this one.
Yeah, like nothing really happened, but we've managed to make it an hour and a half.
That's it. That's us.
So, yeah. Who knows? Home's going to be interesting.
Oh, don't.
So, right. I think that's it for this episode, right?
Yes.
Nothing else?
I think I'm done.
Awesome. So, we've gone through another episode. We're still stuck in purgatory. Hopefully next week we'll get out.
Bye.